Hey everybody, welcome back. Finally, it is the Light Side Music Reactions, and we are back for season 2. Welcome everybody. Thank you for those of you that have stuck with me over the recent hiatus we had because of my foot injury and my illness. We are back and we are going in strong. So today we are reacting to a new music video that was released on January 31st of this year, and I wasn't aware that it was out until Cajun Moo 70 recommended that I check it out. Those of you that are longtime viewers know that season 1, our very first episode, began with me reacting to Randy Travis's breakout hit, Where That Came From, which was created with the assistance of artificial intelligence. And so this is his new AI release, just released this year. It's called Horses in Heaven. So we've got the lyric video here that I'm going to react to. And there's a link, of course, in the description. You can go over and check it out yourself. He released this through Warner Nashville. And so there's a statement on here, on their website, about how the song came to be. It says, and I'm reading here from Warner Music Nashville's website. January 31st, 2025, Randy Travis releases brand new single, Horses in Heaven. A year in the making, today brings the launch of Randy Travis's brand new single, Horses in Heaven, amidst a heavy week for many. The song, penned by John Randall and Matt Nolan, had quite the journey to country music Hall of Famer Travis. It's a perfect fit for the artist who has been horseback since he quite literally was a baby. Okay, I think they're missing a verb there. Or not a verb, has been on horseback or has been a horseback rider since he quite literally was a baby. Harold Trawick, Randy's father, was a renowned horse trainer in North Carolina and ensured that his children inherited his skills. So obviously Randy grew up around horses. You know, his father was a horse trainer. So the message of the song is one that would have been really dear to him. Randy Travis addressed the heaviness of the moment in a statement on his social media yesterday. Quote, "This has been an incredibly hard 24 hours. Last night, many souls were lost in the horrific plane crash in Washington, D.C. And this morning, we lost a dear member of our country music and Warner Music family, publishing giant Ben Vaughn. My prayers are with all the people affected by these losses, including members of our team. Tomorrow's song release, Horses in Heaven, feels like a timely reminder of God's love and mercy, and I hope it brings some comfort to those of us hurting through these tragedies. We have decided to continue with this release and promotion of it, but felt remiss to not share what's on my heart right now. God bless Ben, the victim of last night's crash, and all who are feeling the heaviness of the moment." And so that was a statement by Randy Travis the day before releasing this lyric video. The new song, Horses in Heaven. So I echo those sentiments. I wasn't aware of the plane crash, but Mr. Vaughn and the others that were killed in the crash, my prayers are with their families and loved ones, that they would be comforted, perhaps by this song. Maybe the message of the song is something that would give them strength and comfort as well. And I wish the same thing for any of you out there today that are going through any difficult times, maybe a loss of a loved one. Just this, the other day, as I'm recording this, I had a family member pass away, and we went to her funeral, and it's just a real sad situation when somebody passes away at a young age, especially. But we can find hope and comfort in the hope that we have in the resurrection of the dead through our faith in Jesus Christ. And so while we mourn the loss of loved ones, our loss of being with them, we rejoice that they are in a better place. And one day, if we cling to Jesus and follow where he leads, then one day we will be reunited and live with him and with our loved ones forever in eternity. And so that's my prayer for any of you right now that are going through difficult times. Let's go ahead and check this out. Horses in Heaven, the new AI-assisted single by Randy Travis.
Horses are real therapeutic, I guess, would be a good way to put that for me. It's a good place for me sometimes to just get away from everybody and just spend some quiet time alone, praying, or just time out by yourself. This goes back to when I was sitting on a horse when I was, I think, 3 months old. So I've been there a long time.
All right, so that makes sense. There's a lot of truth to that. For a lot of us, especially those of us that grew up on farms or in the country, going out and enjoying nature all around us is a way that you can just get away from the world. Remember the Alabama song, "I'm in a hurry and don't know why. I rush and rush until life's no fun." I can't remember all the lyrics to it. It's been years since I've heard it. I may have to react to it again on here at some point. But the message of that song is like we live in a fast-paced world, and sometimes it's just so therapeutic to go out into the woods, to ride a horse, to go out with nature and listen to the birds singing. And if you got a bubbling brook nearby, just relax and listen to the water flowing. It's just so relaxing, and to connect with God through nature, through His creation. And apparently that's how Randy felt as a child, living on a farm, going out on his ranch, riding horses. And now looking back on that, it's another way that he can connect to God, is through going out into nature and praying and just being alone with God and His creation. Let's go ahead and check this out. Horses in Heaven. There we go.
There are horses in heaven. It says it in the Bible. Right there in Revelation. Red and pale and black and white.
It's true.
Elijah left this world on a chariot of fire. When Jesus comes back, he might just borrow the silver for the night.
That's funny. Borrow the silver. That's a reference to a silver horse. He talks about right there in the Bible in Revelation, talks about the four horses, referring to the four horsemen of the apocalypse. The red horse, the pale rider, black and white horses. And so whether you translate that as literal or figurative, a lot in Revelation is poetic. And so while his return is literal, there are portions of that is poetic. And so whether it's a literal horse, I tend to think that it's not literal when it comes to that it's an actual horse. Just like some of the technology that we have today, if somebody in biblical times was looking at it, it's something that had today's technology, they would interpret it, with the stuff in their mind that they witnessed at the time. Like, for example, if you would see, we saw it in when they created the first automobiles, how they described those. They called them horseless carriages. And so it's the same thing. If somebody living in times before there was any kind of engine that existed, when the only mode of transportation was a carriage that was led by a horse or just riding plain on horseback, and if they were to see, say, an airplane, they would think it was a dragon flying through the sky. If they were to see an army tank, they would imagine that as a big, I don't know what they would call that. Maybe, you've seen the old James Bond movie. One of James Bond movies had a scene where there was this big tank, and it was painted to look like a dragon. And so the locals thought it was a literal dragon, and they were afraid of it because, when it would fire, they would think it was, breathing fire. And so, however Jesus returns, it's going to be literal that he is going to return. I do believe that. But some of the descriptors that the Bible gives about what it's going to be including, for example, the horses and the riders on the horses, those are figurative. Disease, pestilence, etc. It's examples of, they're metaphors, basically. The four horsemen are metaphors for the disease, pestilence, etc. But I like to think that there are pets and animals in heaven. And of course he referred to Elijah again on the carriage or the chariot. That's where we get the song "Swing Low, Sweet Chariot." That's all going back to the story of Elijah going to heaven on a chariot. And so he says, Elijah left this world on a chariot of fire. When Jesus comes back, he might just borrow the silver horse for the night. And of course, for me, growing up, I remember when I was a kid watching the old Lone Ranger TV series. Actually, it came out in like the 50s and 60s, but growing up in the 80s, I saw the movie version of it when I was in probably 5th or 6th grade. They showed it at school, and it was an all-day thing. We kind of got together and watched the movie on the big screen, his horse was named Silver. Hi-ho, Silver away. And the Oak Ridge Boys had a song, Elvira, which we reacted to last season. Check that out if you get a chance. But in that song, they have that line there, Hi-ho, Silver away, which was the Lone Ranger talking to his horse Silver. It's like, let's go get him, boy. And so this is a nice, cute reference. When Jesus comes back, he might just borrow the silver for the night. All right, let's go ahead and get back into the chorus here.
There are horses in heaven, so I bet that God's a cowboy, heading off into the sunset in a big white Stetson hat. Every time you hear the thunder, it's just a posse full of angels riding those horses up in heaven, golden sandals on their backs.
All right. Musically, this is just like the one I reacted to. Very first video we reacted to for Light Side Music Reactions of Randy Travis's song, where that came from. And I was just so impressed with how much it sounded like Randy's voice. And this is the same thing. It sounds just like him, just as if this is recorded back at the height of his career in the late 80s and the early 90s. Recorded very well. I'm impressed with it. The lyrics here on this, I'm not sure if this is like a second half of a verse or a chorus yet, but there are horses in heaven, so I bet that God's a cowboy. And, I like those sort of references. They may not be 100% accurate, but it's a nice sentiment. I heard a song a few years ago that was written by this lady, and her son, she was getting up in years, and her son actually recorded, I think it was her son, actually recorded it for her professionally and surprised her by playing it for her. And it was just such a beautiful video. And the song itself was about going fishing in heaven. And, a lot of times we think of that. What's heaven going to be like? And, of course, the Bible has descriptors of streets of gold and all this different stuff, the big, beautiful gates and everything. And Jesus described it as, in my Father's house are many mansions. Are those literal mansions? Are they big buildings the way we understand mansions? Are they separate houses? There's an old country song, actually not a country song, but an old hymn. Just give me, I don't want a mansion. Just give me a cabin in glory, something along those lines. I don't believe that they're literal, actually big mansions and buildings and stuff like that. But that's the metaphor that we use to understand what it's like. And so some people imagine heaven being, like Randy talked about in describing this song, is, going out with nature and feeling at one with God. And so his idea of heaven, just like her idea of heaven was getting to go fishing with Jesus. That's what it was called. The song's called Fishing with Jesus. And the idea of getting to see your grandfather that used to take you fishing, to be able to go with him once again, and the two of you sit down and go fishing with Jesus when you get to heaven. It's just such a beautiful thing. And who am I to tell him that that's not what it's going to be like? Because my idea of what heaven would be like for me may not be what it's like for you. And so who am I to say that your metaphor is wrong? I think that a lot of us, we look at the metaphors in the Bible and we're too particular about it. Now, there are certain things, don't get me wrong, I do believe literally in the Bible. I believe that probably the vast majority of it is literal. Adam and Eve, I believe, were literal. The historical references in the Bible were literal. Jesus was a literal man who literally lived, literally died. He was literally crucified on a cross. He literally rose from the dead. All this stuff I believe is literal. But there are parts of the Bible, especially the poetic books like the Psalms, Proverbs, and then Revelation. A lot of that is poetic because they just simply didn't have the references, the frame of reference to describe something futuristic that they saw. And so they just described it with metaphors. And so I completely understand the concept of heaven being like, instead of streets of gold where everything's all like a big city sort of thing, that it may be, to a lot of us, would be just like going and sitting down the grass. Because it does talk in Revelation also about the tree of life being there, and sitting on the countryside, and the stream of living water flowing down. Of course, a lot of that's poetic as well, the descriptors. But, that's what heaven is to Randy. And so perhaps it is to a lot of you as well. He imagines God as a cowboy, heading off into the sunset in a big white Stetson hat. Going back to my childhood, watching the old westerns and stuff, the hero always wore white and the villain always wore black. And those were references to the good and evil. It was symbolism. That if you saw somebody wearing a white Stetson hat, they were the hero. The Lone Ranger wore a white outfit and a white Stetson hat. And the villain, Butch Cavendish, I think it was, always wore black. And so you get into modern times, and you blur the lines between black and white in our movies and our TV shows. And you realize that there are shades of gray in this world, and you can't always judge a book by its cover. The bad guys can wear white and pretend to be good guys. And good guys sometimes wear black. Johnny Cash, the man in black. Me, preacher, wearing a black all the time. So I like to think that I'm on the right side. But your clothes and your appearance isn't always exactly, a good way to judge on whether somebody's character is good or evil. But heading off in the sunset, Jesus in the big white Stetson hat. Every time you hear the thunder, it's just a posse full of angels. Reminds me of when we were kids. One of the things our parents used to say was, when you hear the thunder and the lightning at night and the storms, don't be scared. Don't be scared. That's just the angels bowling. When you hear the thunder sort of thing. Anybody ever, what did your parents used to tell you when you were kids about thunder and lightning and stuff? Comment down below. But, one of the things that when we were kids, our parents would say is, that's just the angels bowling in heaven. And I wrote a song called Faded Footprints in memory of a friend of mine that passed away. And there was a reference in the song to, it was the sky was black the day he left us. Not a bright spot in the sky. On that day the heavens opened, that's the day the angels cried. And so that was my way in poetic language of referring to the rain coming down being the tears of the angels. And of course that's a metaphor. That's what music is full of metaphors. And it helps us to understand something on a powerful and emotional level in terms that we can really get a hold of and hold in our memory to help us get through those difficult times. But he says every time you hear the thunder, it's just a posse full of angels riding those horses up in heaven with golden saddles on their backs. All right, let's go ahead and get into the next part of the song. I'm enjoying this so far.
When the roll is called up yonder and they put me out to pasture, I hope there's a pretty palomino just beyond the gate.
Okay. I hate to pause it this much. I'm going to try not to waste too much time talking. But when the roll is called up yonder and they put me out to pasture. Of course, when you put out a horse out to pasture, that's in its old age. You're just letting them go out, and eventually they're going to die. And so he's saying when they put me out, when the roll is called up yonder, when we get to heaven, and they put me out to pasture, when they lay me in the ground, I hope there's a pretty palomino just beyond the gate. And so we all have imagined what heaven's going to be like, who we're going to see, what we're going to experience. And, there's the song, I can only imagine what it'll be like when I walk by your side. Mercy Me, great song. But we can only begin to imagine what heaven's going to be like. And he imagines when he gets there to heaven, some people say you'll see St. Peter at the gate, sort of thing. I don't know where that tradition actually originated. Maybe it's from the reference of, poetically speaking again, that Jesus gave Peter the keys to heaven. Of course, that's, again, metaphorically speaking, but perhaps that's where that tradition originated. But some people think they'll see St. Peter open up the gate to let him in. Of course, we all look forward to when we get to heaven. We're going to, first thing, there's a song that says, first thing I'm going to do is ask to see Jesus. Bill Gaither's song, because he's the one who died for me. If that isn't love, I think is what the song was. Great song if you ever get a chance to hear it. If that isn't love, by Bill Gaither, and I think it's probably the Gaither vocal band that sang it. Fantastic song. But I hope there's a pretty palomino just beyond the gate. Once again, imagine what he'll see when he gets to heaven. Of course, a palomino is a white horse.
I'll see my dad and Pawpaw. You know that they'll be waiting to pull a plug or red man and take out across the plains. 'Cause there are horses in heaven. Yeah, I bet that God's a cowboy.
I like that inflection there he did with the voice. All right. This is recorded really well. I'm enjoying it. Again, it's not standing out as a huge hit. It doesn't really have a lot of range in it. Some of the bigger hits that you would have in, these types of songs are the ones that maybe they stand out because they're like, maybe the verses are low and then you hit the chorus with some real high notes or sort of thing, and maybe some extravagant, weird choral arrangements on the chords. There's not really a lot of that on this, but it's just the message in it. It's real calm and peaceful, and it's just a real pretty song that gives you nice comfort. This is like a B-side type song. It's a good one. I'm enjoying it, but not exactly a top 10 hit, I don't think. Unless it just makes the hit for emotional reasons. But musically speaking, this is it's a good song, but not an amazing one. But his lyrics here, I'll see my dad and Papaw, you know that they'll be waiting. And that's one of the things we look forward to when we get to heaven, is to be reunited with our loved ones that have gone on before. And of course, if we go before our other loved ones, when they arrive, poetically, we'll be waiting for them. However, technically speaking, we'll all get to heaven at the same time, I believe, because I believe in what they call a soul sleep. And, I've argued with my mother about this. We've debated it because she goes back to that verse that says, absent from the body, present with the Lord. So in her mind, that means that the instant that we die, we instantly go to heaven. And I believe that's true from our perspective, that when I close my eyes in death, the very next instant that I recognize from my perspective, I'm in heaven with Jesus. I'm rising from the grave and leaving this old body behind and putting on my new body that explains in the Apostle Paul, and I think it's 2 Corinthians, about putting on the new spiritual body and rising up to meet God in heaven. And all of us rising up, the first fruits, the ones that were in the grave, the first fruits, following Jesus. And then those that remain get caught up in the air and are transformed into their new perfect bodies, spiritual bodies, and living in heaven forever. So technically, I believe we all get to heaven at the same time. And so nobody will be up there looking down and waiting for somebody else to arrive. We'll all get there same time. We'll all walk through the gates together. And again, metaphorically speaking, gates. But getting to heaven all at the same time and spend the rest of eternity together with Jesus and with each other. But he refers here to his mom, his dad and Papaw. And yes, I believe that we will see our loved ones that have gone on before. From our perspective on this earth, they have already gone. But from our perspective, the instant that we close our eyes in death, the very next instant is Jesus returning and taking us home. The same thing for those that died 1,000 years ago. For them, when they close their eyes, from their perspective, the very next instant, they're rising up from the grave and meeting Jesus in the air. From our perspective, they're still, sleeping in poetically what it's referred to as the bosom of Abraham. And so it's just a matter of perspective. That's what it all comes down to. The idea of, are we instantly in heaven, or do we go to heaven and just wait for somebody else to arrive later? It's all a matter of perspective, of the perspective of the person that have gone on before, or the person that are left behind waiting for their time to go. And so, but the funny thing is, he says, as he sees his dad and Papaw, they'll be waiting to pull a plug of Red Man. I don't know how I feel about the idea of chewing tobacco in heaven, cigarettes and stuff like that. But I don't know if that's what heaven means to them. Then, it's all poetic anyway. The way that we describe it. Pull a plug of Red Man and take out across the plains. Of course, he's just speaking metaphorically. Riding out on the plains on your horse and feeling heaven. All right, let's go ahead and get back into the end of the song. Big long Cadillac. The hearse. Once you get there, you won't want to cross it back.
So you know that God loves cowboys heading off into the sunset in a big white Stetson hat. And every time you hear the thunder, it's just a posse
little catch on the drum there.
angels riding those horses up in heaven, golden saddles on their backs.
Here's a little catch on the snare drum there. For that. I sensed that coming, that ending. Thank the Lord for that. All right, very nice. Enjoyable song. Okay. All right, let's close that off and take one final look at the lyrics here. We're all going to get there. This is the bridge. We're all going to get there in a big, long Cadillac. And once you cross that river, you won't want to cross it back. And that's true. That's one of the comforting things about a funeral, is knowing that they're in a better place. And where they are right now, they don't want to come back. Because there are horses in heaven, so you know that God loves cowboys, heading off into the sunset in a big white Stetson hat. And every time you hear the thunder, it's just a posse full of angels riding those horses up in heaven, golden saddles on their backs. There are horses in heaven, and thank the Lord for that. Well, thank you guys once again for being here. I hope you enjoyed this reaction. God bless Randy Travis. God bless those that helped him to record this song, and continue to help him to put out music despite having this illness that has afflicted his earthly body. His spirit is still strong. He's still putting out great music. And honestly, with all the issues that we have with artificial intelligence and with the technology, to where we do have concerns. For example, there's a lot on YouTube right now. You see people auto-tuning everything and using pitch correction on everything. I've commented before about how going back and listening to my old recordings with my band, there were certain places where the producer would go in and he would adjust the pitch on it, do pitch correction on one note here or there, just because you didn't want to do a second take, because the take was amazing, except for that just one little part that was a little bit off, and so he'd go ahead and do just slight pitch correction on it. And I thought that was amazing at the time. It's a great tool, but now it's being so misused and abused that it's so easy to look at the technology and think it's a boon to the industry. It's something that's just tearing it down and making it cheap. It's cheapening it. You listen to all these. I mean, I'll give you an example. Listening to all the music that's being put out right now, you hear all these artists that sound perfect, and you think, man, they've got fantastic voices. I've been noticing it on my reactions here that some of these vocals are just so amazing. I was like, man, I wish I could sing like that. I couldn't sing like that back when I was at my prime, and I sure can't do it now. Just the other day, well, just this morning, I was listening to one of our old CDs from my band, and I was trying to sing along with it, and I couldn't hit the high notes. Couldn't come near hitting the high notes that I used to hit. In fact, the verse on one particular song I was trying to sing along with, and it wasn't even getting to the high notes on the chorus yet. It was just the like, if the chorus gets up to here, this was down here where I was singing back then. And I couldn't sing it in that. When I was singing along with it, I was singing with it an octave lower. And so my voice has changed over the years. I can't do it. But even back then, listening to it now, I hear all the little mistakes that I made where I was just slightly flat or slightly sharp, and just didn't hit it just right. And you hear everything that's coming out these days, and they hit every single note perfectly. And so it's kind of discouraging to think, man, I wasn't as good as I thought I was, maybe. And maybe our band wasn't as great as we thought we were. But then when you realize that everything is auto-tuned or pitch-corrected to the extreme nowadays. And so it's, when you're hearing, there's a channel that, YouTube Reactor, I'll put a link to his channel in the video, in the description. Check it out. He does these amazing analysis of the videos. It's Phil from Wings of Pegasas. And he comments about how AI can be a great tool to use, pitch correction and stuff like that. It's great if it's used sparingly and only, like my band did, to correct those little notes here. So you still hear the flaws in most of it, and that's what makes it real. It's what makes it, an art form. And so when they go back nowadays, like they're doing, and change, pitch correct every single note, it's just not natural. And it sounds like they're singing perfectly, and it gives you a false impression that these are amazing singers, better than some of the legends that we grew up listening to, that every once in a while you'd hear them go flat or sharp or something and not hit it perfectly. And you think, boy, some of these Disney pop stars are better singers than some of the legends. It's not the case. It's just a matter of the technology we've got today. Every single word, every single note that they sing is filtered through the modern technology we've got, the pitch correction and everything. And so today's music, you got to take with a grain of salt. And he does a great way of analyzing this and showing on the screen how it's been manipulated. And so AI can be a negative thing, or in the case of Randy Travis with putting out his music, continuing to release music, I believe it's an amazing thing. Just like any tool. It can be used for good or it can be used for evil. Not that using pitch correction to an extreme is evil per se, but just in general, it's not something that is really beneficial to the industry. And so that's my take on that. But Randy Travis, God bless you. I hope you continue to be able to make music, and God bless those that are helping you to do so. What do you guys think? Comment down below what you thought of this new song. Do you want to hear more music from Randy Travis, even though it's not him actually singing it, but somebody else, and they're modifying it to make it his voice, using his voice from the past to overlay on top of the track that goes underneath? Knowing that that's not him actually singing it in the studio, how do you feel about that? And do you want to continue to hear songs that he releases in this fashion? Val Kilmer passed away recently, had throat cancer. Another example of somebody that had to use modern technology and in order to continue his craft. As he made his final few movies, he in one of them, they had his son, I understand, do the vocals, do his lines while he did the acting. And so, and then you go back to the Fast and Furious movies when Paul Walker passed away, how they used technology to get his brother to look like him in the scenes that they needed to film to be able to release the movie. AI can be a great thing. Modern technology can be great and help people like Randy Travis to continue to put out their thing. That's my opinion. What do you guys think? Comment down below. And always give me recommendations on the music you want to see me react to. And we'll see you next time on the Light Side Music Reactions. In the meantime, if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you'll know when we add new content. And keep those recommendations coming. We'll see you next time. Thanks for sticking with me. Welcome to Season 2. We've got a great time ahead. Bye, everybody.